money isn't your problem. Your beliefs about money are. You've seen it. People who earn less but somehow build more. Others who make 6 figures and still feel broke. The difference isn't luck or talent. It's psychology. The psychology of wealth cuts through the noise to show you what actually drives financial success. These aren't budgeting tips or investment hacks. You'll understand the mental patterns that keep you stuck and rewire them. You'll learn why your current relationship with money formed, how your self-worth directly impacts your bank account, and what it takes to make decisions that actually stick. No empty motivation, just clear strategies for people ready to stop repeating the same financial patterns. If you're tired of feeling behind, anxious about the future, or capable of more but unsure how to get there, this is your starting point. Let's begin. Chapter 1. How do we define wealth? Wealth isn't what you think it is. Close your eyes for a moment and picture wealth. What do you see? Stacks of cash? A luxury car in the driveway? Maybe a mansion perched on a hill somewhere? Sure, that's what conventional wealth is. But real wealth means waking up without that knot in your stomach. It's making choices because you want to, not because you have to. It's a sense of abundance that lives inside you long before it shows up in your bank account. A psychology of wealth can be learned in childhood through the values we are taught, not just from the size of our home or the neighborhood we live in. These values are about achievement, inner strength, and belief in oneself. Just as a computer has an operating system, every family operates according to a set of spoken and unspoken rules. This operating system specifically affects your attitudes and beliefs about money, wealth, and financial success. The programming you receive can greatly condition, for better or worse, the degree of monetary gain or financial wealth that you are likely to achieve. But if you didn't learn a psychology of wealth from your family, can you still learn it? Can you gain the attitude and habits that drive success? Most certainly. A psychology that includes balanced and empowered attitudes about money and self can be learned in a family with either vast or very modest means, or it can be learned on one's own. The thing about chasing money is that the finish line keeps moving. You hit your target number and suddenly it doesn't feel like enough anymore. In the 1950s, families felt wealthy if they owned one television. Today, we have screens in every room, plus the kind of home theater setup that would have made a millionaire jealous back then. We walk around with smartphones that contain more computing power than NASA used to land on the moon. We have cars that basically drive themselves. And yet, do we feel wealthy? Most of us don't. That's because wealth isn't fixed. It morphs with time, with technology, with whatever society decides is normal this decade. What feels like abundance to one person registers as ordinary to someone else. Luckily for most of us, being wealthy is not a requirement for developing either a sense of self-worth or a psychology of wealth. So the very first thing you must do is stop measuring your life against anyone else's definition. Wealth is not about having the most things. It's about having enough to live with purpose and peace. Real prosperity includes financial stability, yes, but it's also strong relationships, good health, meaningful work, and a quiet mind. Money is part of the equation, just not the whole thing. Some curious examples of how this lack of a psychology of wealth can allow even the rich to fail are found in stories of people who win the lottery. All too often, their lives unravel when the money floods in. They quickly lose not only their bearings, but often their millions. It's a short trip from "I won the lottery" to failure. The problem is not only that the sudden winners are unschooled in how to handle money. Often their very identities crumble as the expectations and attitudes of their friends, family members, and others shift suddenly and dramatically. Society will keep telling you that more is better. Bigger is better. That's the game, and most people stay trapped in it, chasing endlessly. But the people who actually feel wealthy are playing a different game entirely. They've defined what matters to them, and they're building lives rich in meaning, not just possessions. Wealth is personal. It evolves, and it has to be defined on your own terms. What counted as luxury 50 years ago is standard today. What feels impossible now might be ordinary in 20 years. So stop waiting to feel abundant. Appreciate what you already have. Recognize the progress that's already happened. Inner wealth, purpose, gratitude, self-respect often matters more than the outer kind. When you shift how you see wealth, everything changes. You stop chasing, you start building, you create a life that feels abundant now, while still moving toward greater freedom. So, what does wealth actually mean to you? Not to your parents, not to social media, not to the person who just bought a bigger house than yours. To you. Chapter 2. The Evolution of Wealth. Most people incorrectly think the information revolution is the fastest, most impactful economic shift in history, but it's not. The Industrial Revolution moved just as fast over the same time frame and arguably hit harder. Which tells you something important. Massive change isn't new. Wealth has always evolved. What counts as prosperous in one era becomes basic in the next. This is proof that wealth isn't some fixed target forever out of reach. It's a moving story, constantly reshaped by technology, progress, and human ingenuity. Think back a few generations. Your grandparents, maybe your great-grandparents, saw owning a car as a major achievement, a home with electricity, success, a telephone in the house. You'd made it. In the early 1900s, a Ford Model T sitting in the driveway meant real prosperity for most families. By mid-century, owning your own house on a piece of land, maybe with a sewing machine to run a small side business, that was solid middle-class stability. Take someone like Reba Hoffman. She used her Singer sewing machine, common technology at the time, to make and repair clothes. That simple tool became a business opportunity. It added security, income, dignity. That was wealth. Now fast forward to today. Cars are standard. Phones that connect you to the entire world are in every pocket. Homes with modern comforts are completely expected. The bar for wealthy keeps rising because innovation keeps creating new possibilities. What once seemed like luxury becomes ordinary. This teaches you that wealth is relative to your time and place. It expands as society advances. But there is a deeper change happening beneath all the gadgets and money. Wealth has evolved from survival to security, then to comfort, and now toward freedom and fulfillment. In earlier times, having enough food and shelter was the entire goal. As economies grew, people aimed for stability and independence. Today, many aren't just chasing more stuff. They want the ability to live on their own terms. This historical perspective should free you. You don't need to match some outdated or unrealistic image of rich. Wealth evolves with you. What felt abundant to your ancestors might seem minimal now, but that doesn't diminish what they achieved. It highlights progress. You're standing on their shoulders with more tools and opportunities than any generation before you. Wealth's evolution proves that prosperity is accessible. Every major wave of change, agricultural, industrial, informational, has lifted more people into better lives. Technology and knowledge spread faster now than ever before, which means you can adapt quicker. You don't have to wait for society to hand you wealth. You can shape your own version by learning from the past and acting in the present. The Industrial Revolution transformed work and living standards in decades. The Information Revolution is doing the same thing right now, putting global markets, education, and connections directly in your pocket. This speed means your potential for prosperity grows faster than any previous generations, if you stay aware, if you stay intentional. Stop seeing wealth as something distant or reserved for other people. It has always changed, and it continues to change in your favor. Define prosperity based on what matters to you now, while appreciating how history has opened these doors. When you see wealth as an ongoing journey rather than a static prize, everything shifts. You gain power over it. That's the advantage history gives you. Use it. Chapter 3. Finding your dream. Prosperity starts with knowing what you actually want. Without a clear vision, something that excites you, something that pulls you forward, money becomes just numbers on a screen. But when you lock onto a meaningful goal, one that aligns with what you truly value, everything changes. Challenges stop feeling like roadblocks and start feeling like necessary steps. Here's what separates people who build lasting wealth from everyone else. They rarely chase money for its own sake. They're chasing something bigger, a dream with purpose behind it. Most people never do this work. They drift and they follow paths laid out by family expectations, societal pressure, or plain fear. They never pause long enough to ask the question that matters. What would actually make my life feel fulfilling? Finding your dream means looking inward. It requires brutal honesty about your core values, what you stand for, what brings you genuine joy, what kind of impact you want to leave behind. Your dream isn't some fantasy. It's a vivid picture of the life you're meant to live, one that combines passion, contribution, and growth. Studies show that there is a strong link between self-worth and a sense of achievement. To build self-esteem, human beings must face and meet challenges. It isn't enough for your parents or others to simply tell you that you're good, strong, or smart. You must experience your own ability to accomplish something difficult or creative. You must experience firsthand your own competence and your ability to make something happen, to move things ahead. In other words, you must show yourself what you can do. By setting goals for yourself and achieving them, by being willing to take some failure on the chin and keep going, by taking some intelligent risks, you can build a sense of self-worth. This confidence won't be dependent on external validation or past experiences within your family. Take Senator Letitia Van de Putte. Politics wasn't her plan. She dreamed of becoming a pharmacist like her grandfather. After getting married, she took a bold step. She bought her own pharmacy. "It was my dream," she said later, "but it was risky." That decision revealed something deeper than ambition. It showed a powerful belief in her own value and her ability to achieve, even when life pulled her in completely new directions. That inner confidence stayed with her. It carried her forward. Notice something. Her dream started small and personal, but it grew because it was rooted in self-belief and courage. Your dream might look nothing like hers, Maybe it's building a business that solves a problem you care about, creating art that moves people, raising a family in a way that honors your values, living with the freedom to travel and give back. Whatever it is, the key is clarity. When you know where you're headed, decisions get easier. You stop wasting energy on things that don't serve your vision. Money, time, effort, they all start flowing toward what actually matters. One way to identify your dreams and ambitions is to ask yourself, what is my image of a prosperous life? How do I want to design my prototype of wealth and prosperity? For you, is it performing meaningful work, having the ability to travel, having a loving and supportive mate with whom to share the road, having a house in the country with kids in the yard, building a company that employs hundreds of your neighbors? You can feel free to discard your hand-me-down beliefs about success, money, and wealth, and upgrade them to fit values of your own choosing. To avoid selling yourself short, it is important that you periodically try stretching your goals a little bit. We can create a life in which we can prosper by staying conscious of who we are and what we really want. This requires following an internal compass based on our genuine selves and our broader goals. To find that internal compass, we must reflect on and acknowledge the personal values that we hold dear. Chapter 4. Self-esteem and its influence on wealth. How exactly are self-esteem and self-worth created? Far too often, money has a disproportionate influence on our sense of self-worth. People frequently believe that if they could somehow acquire more money or more assets, they would feel wealthy. Some believe, for example, that if they received a raise, they would finally feel good about themselves. An individual with this notion who has struggled financially or has failed to meet a financial goal may feel diminished. They feel that something inside them is missing, and that if they only had a bigger house or could afford a more expensive school for their children, they would at last gain entrance to the charmed circle of the truly okay. Yet with each new purchase or rise on the ladder of worldly esteem, the inner void remains unfilled. Although it may seem paradoxical, beliefs like these hold us back from prosperity and prevent us from achieving our highest potential. It is easy to associate a sense of belonging, worthiness, and security with financial success. Our society both shouts and whispers this association, from the heights of the Fortune 500 list to the depths of our collective psyche. When we know that we can meet our basic financial needs, some types of personal uncertainty are definitely eased. But eventually we discover that simply having a lot of money does not provide inner security or a sense of worthiness. While money helps many things, it has little long-term impact on our self-worth. Psychologist and wealth counselor Shifra Birka observes, "Money tends not to solve personal problems. Money solves money problems." One Birka also reports that many financially wealthy people are actually burdened by a vague sense that they don't deserve what they have. Our view of our worthiness seems to hinge in part on how we came by our financial gains, and whether we have worked for them in incremental steps. Feelings of unworthiness are especially common in folks who suddenly or unexpectedly come into a large sum of money, such as through an inheritance or, as we've seen, through a lottery win. They commonly experience sudden wealth syndrome. With the acquisition of financial riches, they feel lost and overwhelmed. If you base your self-worth on whether you have reached a particular rung on the ladder to wealth, and if you define wealth by the things you have, an endless loop of dissatisfaction and self-defeat may be the result. In short, creating a psychology of wealth requires a hardy and healthy sense of self-esteem. With it comes a willingness to put oneself on the line and make whatever efforts and stretches are necessary in order to move forward. While the self-esteem required to achieve true prosperity may seem to have little to do with material possessions, sometimes a well-thought-out and wisely selected purchase can help to boost our self-esteem. This might mean buying a new suit for a job interview, taking out a well-considered loan to buy a more reliable car, or upgrading one's computer to expand one's capacity to serve customers. When these kinds of investments are thoughtfully approached and consciously made, they can increase one's self-esteem and self-respect. Part of the value of such investments is that when we project worthiness and success, whether it is through our attire, our attitude, or the tools we use, the world responds to us in kind. This feedback from our environment can reinforce our self-confidence and inspire continued confidence from others. Set small, achievable goals. Then celebrate when you meet them. This isn't indulgent. It reinforces your capability. Surround yourself with people who uplift rather than criticize. Take responsibility for your choices without beating yourself up. Each act of self-respect strengthens the foundation. Research backs this up. A strong sense of self-worth is foundational for financial success. It influences decision-making and resilience when challenges hit. When you value yourself highly, you stop accepting less than you deserve. You pursue dreams with determination. Money flows more naturally because your actions finally align with your true potential. Chapter 5. The Stream versus the Rock. H. Jackson Brown wisely said, "In the confrontation between the stream and the rock, the stream always wins, not through strength but by perseverance." Like the stream that wins over the rock, by moving forward and persisting with the right choices at each bend, we can reach our goals. The strength of the river is gained through momentum by the focus of the flow in one direction. We can use that momentum to move toward our dreams and our goals. People who achieve genuine abundance often embody this stream-like quality. They face challenges head-on but respond with flexibility. Instead of panicking over a job loss, they see it as a chance to explore new paths. When an investment doesn't pan out, they analyze what went wrong, adjust their strategy, and continue investing wisely. Perseverance in this way isn't about endless grinding. It's about gentle, unrelenting progress. Small daily actions add up. Reading about finances, cutting unnecessary expenses, seeking advice from mentors, or simply showing up for your goals when motivation fades. Over months and years, these efforts erode obstacles just as water shapes stone. The beauty of the stream approach is its sustainability. It reduces stress because you focus on process over perfection. You accept that setbacks are part of the journey, not the end of it. This resilience protects your emotional well-being while steadily advancing your financial position. For most people, acquiring wealth has been a matter of moving up by taking small steps in any way one can. Credit has long played an essential role in this process. Consumer credit has allowed generations of people to purchase such things as homes and cars, and to finance higher education. All actions that have materially improved their lives. For most of our history, this credit took the form of installment loans. Even a generation or two ago, it was this kind of loan that allowed people to buy washers, dryers, televisions, refrigerators, vacuum cleaners, and other genuine conveniences of a flourishing life. This budget-conscious form of borrowing required face-to-face discussions between the borrower and the lender on the consumer's needs and means. How did borrowing morph from a transaction that required consultation and deliberation into writing one's own very large check on a home equity line? During the pre-recession borrowing spree, these easily written checks were often used to finance conveniences, such as transforming one's kitchen into a showcase of marble and brushed stainless steel. When new, easy forms of credit entered the marketplace in the early 1960s, they began to replace the popular installment credit plans, especially for middle and upper-class citizens. Unlike traditional installment loans, these new, revolving forms of credit, familiar to us now as credit cards and, more recently, home equity lines of credit, did not require repayment within a fixed period. Only minimum payments were required. They also offered the allure of nearly effortless borrowing. Retailers encouraged customers to pay for their wares this way because they quickly learned that customers who used revolving credit or charge cards purchased significantly more than customers who paid cash. Indeed, the average charge sale was 3 times the average cash sale. Did consumers' needs suddenly escalate by 300%? It's unlikely. A need to borrow may be legitimate. However, when we aren't required to deliberate on the real costs and benefits of a purchase or loan, the likelihood that the decision will be a thoroughly conscious one diminishes. Simply put, this kind of instantaneous credit encourages unconscious spending, and it challenges our budgetary discipline sorely. The credit card is now the most widely used credit vehicle in the world. With a card in one hand and internet access in the other, our self-control and discipline are tested at every turn. Of course, we can't pin all the blame for our sometimes questionable decisions on marketing gurus and ignore our own responsibility. Yet it's apparent that certain types of credit require less thoughtfulness. Every form of credit can be used consciously and responsibly. Any form of borrowing and spending that intrinsically requires time for conscious reflection and a review of one's budget will be most helpful in steering us clear of the rocks in the stream. Chapter 6. Value is what you get. Warren Buffett has famously said, "Price is what you pay, value is what you get." Wealth isn't about how much you spend or how low a price you pay. It's about the actual value you receive in return. The most prosperous people understand this. Value is what you get, not what you give up. When you focus on extracting real benefit from every transaction, investment, or exchange, abundance flows more naturally. Think about everyday decisions. You hunt for the cheapest option, convinced that saving a few dollars means winning. But if that low-cost choice delivers poor quality, breaks quickly, or fails to meet your needs, you've actually lost. You've traded money for frustration, wasted time, and missed opportunities. The wealthy mindset flips this. Seek out what delivers the highest return on your investment, whether in money, time, energy, or emotion. This principle reaches far beyond shopping. In business, it means building relationships that create ongoing mutual benefit rather than one-time deals. In career choices, it means pursuing roles or skills that offer growth, fulfillment, and long-term rewards instead of just a quick paycheck. In personal life, it means investing in health, education, and connections that compound over time, creating greater returns than short-term pleasure. The qualities that make a life prosperous are both intensely personal and subjective. The experiences that bring meaning and forward momentum to one person's life may be of little importance or value to another. Think about how this shifts your perspective on money itself. Money is a tool for acquiring value. When you spend wisely on things that enhance your life, support your goals, or solve real problems, you multiply its power. Cheap thrills or impulse buys provide fleeting value. They leave you empty. Strategic choices, even if they cost more upfront, deliver lasting satisfaction, efficiency, or opportunity. Pause before any financial decision and ask, what real value will this bring me? Does it align with my goals? Will it pay dividends in health, happiness, relationships, or future earnings? When the answer is yes, the price becomes secondary. You're not paying too much. You're investing in high return. This approach builds prosperity because it trains you to recognize and capture value everywhere. You stop leaking resources on low-value items or activities. You attract better opportunities because you operate from discernment. People notice when you value quality and mutual benefit. It draws like-minded individuals and better deals your way. Over time, this creates a virtuous cycle. Higher value choices lead to better outcomes, which free up more resources for even greater value creation. You move from scarcity thinking, where every dollar feels limited, to abundance thinking, where value multiplies. The reality is, value is what you get. Make it your guiding rule in every exchange. Seek excellence, longevity, impact. When you consistently choose what delivers the most meaningful return, wealth stops being something you chase. It becomes something that naturally accumulates around you. Your life grows richer, not just in finances, but in satisfaction, freedom, and purpose. Start today. In your next purchase, decision, or interaction, prioritize value received. Watch how it transforms your entire relationship with money. Chapter 7. Living consciously. Prosperity demands awareness. You can't build lasting wealth while sleepwalking through financial decisions. Living consciously means opening your eyes to your circumstances, motivations, and true aims, especially around money. It requires pausing, reflecting, and choosing deliberately rather than reacting on autopilot. Many people close their eyes to the consequences of how they borrow, spend, and relate to money. They follow habits inherited from family, chase impulses, or avoid tough conversations about finances. This unconscious approach leads to debt traps, missed opportunities, and a constant sense of lack, even when income rises. Conscious living flips the script. It brings clarity, responsibility, and power back into your hands. The core idea is simple. Approach your finances with full awareness. Know your options. Understand how money actually works. Seek knowledge about resources, tools, and strategies available to you. Financial education becomes essential because informed choices lead to empowered outcomes. Common sense tells us that saving and setting aside money for emergencies is a prudent practice. The sense of security that savings can bring is worth its weight in gold. For building a wealth-enhancing sense of self-esteem, saving money certainly does no harm. However, creating a robust psychology of wealth requires a healthy balance of saving and investing in oneself. Creating a financial cushion is beneficial, but it simply doesn't have the same potent impact on self-esteem or the potential to create prosperity that growing, expanding, and taking action can. When you educate yourself on budgeting, investing, debt management, tax implications, You stop operating in the dark. You make decisions aligned with your goals, not driven by fear, habit, or societal pressure. Extreme self-restriction and a fearful elimination of all risk-taking can severely limit our ability to move forward in life. Not only will financial austerity and avoidance of all investment and debt keep us stuck in our individual lives, but it could have a negative effect on the economy at large. The responsible flow of credit and the social trust that it requires and engenders is essential to the commerce of life. Neither of the extremes, heedlessness or inflexible financial abstinence, is likely to lead to prosperity. Conscious living extends beyond the numbers. It ties into being present and mindful of your actions. Ideas like living in the moment gain new meaning when applied to debt and spending. Before taking on new debt, ask yourself, does this serve my long-term vision? Will it build growth or create unnecessary burden? Approaching our finances consciously, with an awareness of our circumstances, motivations, and true aims, is a key. With this kind of consciousness, we assess what is meaningful to us and what we must do in order to bring that meaning to fruition. We also acknowledge that we may need to take risks in order to move forward. We take realistic stock of what a particular risk involves and of our ability to take that risk without damaging ourselves or others. And then, if we decide that it's in our best interest to do so, we bet on ourselves. And if we want to borrow money, we do so knowing how and when we will pay it back. This awareness transforms how you view credit, not as a trap, but as a potential tool for personal development when used intentionally and responsibly. Real prosperity emerges when you live fully awake to your choices. You audit old beliefs about money that no longer serve you. You recognize emotional triggers, fear of scarcity, desire for status, and choose responses that support abundance instead. This awareness reduces regret and builds trust in your ability to handle whatever comes. Small, conscious steps compound powerfully. Track your spending without judgment to see patterns. Set intentions before major purchases. Regularly review goals to ensure actions match priorities. These practices create a feedback loop. Better awareness leads to wiser choices, which generate more resources and confidence. The psychology of wealth requires believing that no matter what happens, you'll have what you need, because you actively create it through mindful effort. This trust frees you from panic-driven decisions and opens space for generosity, creativity, and bold moves. It is human nature to want to expand, grow, explore, and stretch boundaries. It is what brought people to the New World, and it continues to inspire dreams of prosperity all over the world. To limit or dampen that abiding and generous drive is certainly not desirable. Today, we have many options for ways to give ourselves a hand up in life and to achieve prosperity for ourselves and our loved ones. These include both monetary and non-monetary options. But the specific ways in which we invest in our prosperity matter far less than the awareness and value the experience provides. To achieve real prosperity requires us to buy, borrow, invest, and, most important, live consciously. Money that is used consciously can move us ahead without endangering our individual or collective welfare. It can empower, invigorate, and fuel our growth. This perspective holds great promise for a new psychology of wealth. Chapter 8. The Power of Giving Back. True prosperity flows in both directions. The most abundant lives aren't built by hoarding resources. They thrive when you share them generously. Giving back creates a powerful cycle. It strengthens your sense of security, deepens your connections, and opens doors to unexpected opportunities. When you give freely, you signal trust in abundance rather than fear of scarcity. This mindset shift alone can transform your relationship with money. Many people hesitate to give because they worry there won't be enough left for themselves. Yet the psychology of wealth requires trusting that no matter what happens, you'll have enough. This trust frees you to act with openness. Simple acts of generosity, sharing knowledge, time, money, or encouragement, renew your energy, inspiration, and motivation. They embody the positive archetype of wealth, generosity combined with skill, creativity, and discernment. When we hear the term giving associated with money, we often think of charitable giving or philanthropy. To be sure, this is an essential type of financial altruism. It can exemplify acts of selfless generosity, since the giver usually expects and receives no material benefit in return. Among its many gifts to individuals and society, philanthropy has underwritten the education of millions and saved many more from disease and natural disasters. Yet generosity can encompass any type of giving, that of one's time, talents, or money. It is the open heart and generous spirit with which we give that matters. With this spirit, we add both to the lives of others and to our own. The truly wealthy give to others on a regular basis. Successful societies, nations, companies, and individuals understand the inherent benefits of generosity. Social and business leaders realize the value and significance of giving back in some form. This explains why they contribute to charities and other non-profit organizations regularly. Let's look at some real examples. Tony Kupis, a high-achieving sales leader, demonstrated generosity by giving his full attention to colleagues seeking advice, even amid a packed schedule. His willingness to share wisdom built deep respect and loyalty around him. Stories of successful figures stopping to offer guidance to eager young people show how sharing expertise creates lasting impact. These moments aren't about losing something. They multiply value through relationships and goodwill. Giving back takes many forms: philanthropic donations, mentoring others, volunteering your skills, simply helping in small daily ways. Each act reinforces a belief in plenty. Research shows that generosity improves mental and emotional well-being, boosts self-esteem, and fosters a positive feedback loop. As you give, you often receive in return, not always directly, but through new connections, unexpected support, or inner fulfillment that money alone can't buy. This principle ties directly to abundance thinking. When you operate from scarcity, you hold tight to resources, limiting growth. When you embrace generosity, you participate in a larger flow. Wealth becomes a vehicle for service, whether spiritual, community-focused, or personal development. It shifts your focus from "what can I get" to "how can I contribute," which naturally attracts more prosperity. Start small to build the habit. Perform one conscious act of giving today. Share advice with someone starting out. Donate to a cause you care about. Offer help without expecting anything back. Notice how it feels: lighter, more connected, more confident. Over time, this practice erodes fear and builds trust in your ability to create and sustain abundance. The power of giving back lies in its reciprocity, not as a transaction, but as a natural law of prosperous living. Our instincts also tell us that generosity is necessary to create a good life, one with balance, happiness, and a satisfying level of financial prosperity. Giving is both personally fulfilling and wealth-enhancing. It encourages the fullest possible flow of life and prosperity. A full container can hold more only when some of its volume is released. The adage, "As you give, so shall you receive," defines a fundamental aspect of the psychology of wealth. The ways in which we give to others will come back to us many times over, and often in kind. If we give more love will flow into our lives. If we give more freely of our finances, more financial opportunities may open for us. In short, when we give to others, we will feel the abundance in our own lives. This feeling enhances our sense of self-worth and, with it, our ability to reach our goals. Chapter 9. I'm going through a phase. Time is a precious commodity these days. We never seem to have enough of it. One result is that it can be easy to get so caught up in life's daily demands that we don't take the time to orchestrate a life plan for ourselves, or even to plan from year to year. Often, we don't follow our dreams simply because we haven't thought about them. We don't take the time to build or create the life we want, let alone the time to appreciate the gifts we have. If our attention is somewhere else, we miss the gift of our present experience. Though electronic devices have their virtues, with all the gadgets we have available on which we can talk, text, browse, and play, the quiet moments to reflect seem ever more elusive. As a consequence, we are chronically distracted and inattentive. As time races ahead, life seems to pass us by. Whatever we place our attention on will naturally grow. If we want to create prosperity, we must give it some conscious attention. The starting point is to take a serious look at the whole of our lives. This can help us understand not only where we are now, but what we have accomplished and where we want to go. There are 4 phases of life: earning, creating, perfecting, and freedom. These cycles aren't necessarily tied to a particular stage of life, such as growing up or growing old. They may march in sequence with our age, or they may be repeated many times in a single lifetime. They may even overlap. They reflect the fluidity of life and the ways in which we can, and sometimes must, start over, reinvent ourselves and our financial lives, and remain open to opportunities and challenges. The learning phase is the period in our lives when we are beginning something entirely new and have the innocence of the beginner. Like a young child, we are open and taking in everything. We are like sponges, absorbing new information that will prepare us for what comes next. In chronological terms, our first experience with this phase includes the years from birth to around age 8, when we are taking in information about the world at a rapid rate but are not yet exercising discrimination about what we're learning. We are still dependent on others and are not yet ready to make major decisions for ourselves. From age 8 to 18, we continue to learn and absorb rapidly, but our powers of discrimination and decision-making grow as we prepare for the next phase of life. When seen through a financial lens, the learning phase can happen several or even many times in life, such as when we are starting a new job, career, or business, or when we are taking on a new responsibility that requires preparation, like the birth of a child. The creating phase is marked by moving into the world and taking on new responsibilities. We are starting to build a life in which we can stand on our own. In this phase, we may lack the resources to make it entirely under our own steam. To prepare us for independence, we might need to receive some support from parents or to borrow money to get a leg up. Unless we have inherited funds, in this phase, we work to earn money, establish ourselves, and start saving. Chronologically, this phase may last well into our 30s. Or, just as with the learning phase, it may be experienced later in life when we are starting a new career. The perfecting phase is the period when we are established in a path and are standing on our own. It is the prime period of the cycle of life, when we have mastered our work and we are producing and earning at our full potential. With the demands of the creating phase behind us, we are expanding our prosperity by saving or investing for retirement or the next stage of life. Although we are still producing, we are enjoying the fruits of what we have accomplished so far. We are independent and we are entirely responsible for our own financial well-being. In this phase, we are the ones who can help others, such as our children, by giving them a hand up in life. Chronologically, this phase encompasses one's 40s and 50s and possibly beyond. The freedom phase represents liberation from the need to work full-time. With this phase comes the freedom to choose what's next. This may mean time to garden and travel, devote ourselves to an important cause, or explore a new vocation or career. It may also mean simply being able to structure our days exactly as we wish. We reflect on what we have accomplished, and yet we may wish to try something new. This is the phase in which we might decide to volunteer at a local children's center, or bring our life and career skills to an area in need, or to devote more time to our family. The essence of this period is having greater freedom to make choices. Whether our means are modest or extraordinary, we make our way as we wish. We can experience any of these phases at any time in our lives. For example, at any age, we may want or need to start a new career or a new adventure. It is no longer uncommon for people to begin a new job or career in any decade of life, including our 60s or older. When this happens, the entire cycle begins again. We once again experience the learning phase and, if all goes well, move to the phase of creating a new way of life, then on to perfecting, where we become established in our new career. With each repetition of the cycle, we bring more experience, discipline, and focus to it than we did before. As we move into each new cycle, nothing in our experience is lost. Chapter 10. Painting a New Portrait of Prosperity. Prosperity looks different for everyone, yet society often paints it with the same narrow brush. Big houses, luxury cars, endless possessions. This old portrait leaves many feeling empty, chasing an image that doesn't fulfill. The time has come to repaint, to create a richer, more personal vision of what true abundance means. Start by questioning the old picture. What images of success were handed down to you from family, culture, media? Do they reflect your values or someone else's? True prosperity blends financial security with deeper elements: purpose, strong relationships, health, contribution, and inner peace. It's not just about having more. It's about living more fully. Redefine success on your terms. For some, it means freedom to travel and spend time with loved ones. For others, it's building something that outlasts them or helping others rise. Wealth here includes gratitude for what you already have, the ability to give generously, and the confidence to pursue dreams without constant fear. This new portrait emphasizes balance. Money serves life, not the other way around. You invest in experiences that matter, in growth that compounds, and in people who uplift you. You measure progress not only by bank balances, but by how aligned you feel, how much joy, impact, and freedom you experience daily. Stories of real prosperity illustrate this beautifully. People from humble beginnings who achieved financial success often describe it as secondary to the fulfillment of living purposefully. They painted their own portraits. One focused on family legacy, another on community impact, yet another on personal mastery and peace. To create yours, visualize from the end. See the life you want, vibrant, meaningful, abundant. Then work backward. What habits, choices, and mindsets support that vision? Paint daily with conscious actions, gratitude practices, value-driven spending, generous giving, and persistent growth. This new portrait isn't static. It evolves as you do, updated through life's phases, refining details as your dreams deepen. When prosperity becomes personal and holistic, it feels authentic and sustainable. You stop comparing, start creating, and discover abundance was always within reach, waiting for you to claim it in your own unique way.